Hi, I'm Megan and welcome to my kitchen. In today's What's for Dinner video, I'll be sharing with you what meals we had this past week. Our dinners were easy to make, budget friendly, and delicious. So if you're looking for some weeknight meal ideas for your family, just keep watching. And make sure you stay tuned to the end of today's video. I'll be announcing my 10,000 subscriber giveaway winner. For dinner this first night, we did teriyaki chicken sausages. I was inspired to do this from Stephanie at Still Single Stephanie. I'll have her channel linked down below. So I've mentioned before on my channel that we love these bacon pineapple chicken sausages. I think the brand is called Adele's. We love them. They're so yummy. And I saw Stephanie a few weeks ago basically coat them in teriyaki sauce. And I thought, oh my gosh, that sounds delicious. Why have I never thought to do that? So what I did was I sliced up the sausages, I tossed them with some teriyaki sauce, just use your favorite, or you could also use homemade. I placed them onto a foil-lined baking sheet. I would highly suggest the foil with the teriyaki sauce. It'll be a mess. So unless you just love cleaning and scrubbing your pans, I'd suggest using the foil. And then I popped these into a 350-degree oven, and I cooked them for about 20 minutes until they were warm all the way through. And for one of the sides, kept it super simple. Just cut up a zucchini, tossed it with some avocado oil, salt, pepper, and garlic, and cooked it in the air fryer at 400 degrees for about 9 to 10 minutes. I did shake it halfway through. All right, here are the plates. This may be a little eclectic, but we had some deli macaroni salad in the refrigerator that needed to be used up, and I thought, well, when you have like a Hawaiian plate, they'll do like teriyaki flavors with rice and macaroni salad. So I was like, let me go ahead and serve that with this. So that's what we did, and hey, it was delicious. So we've got the sausages, the macaroni salad, the zucchini, and then we had just like one piece of fresh cantaloupe left over, so I went ahead and sliced that up for me. And this was a super easy dinner, and delicious and really quick to put together. Next up, I made Melissa's taco salad, and I call it Melissa's taco salad because I got it from a lady named Melissa that I used to work with, and she made this and brought this for us to have for lunch one day, and I fell in love with it. It was delicious. I will say, though, that I'm glad she did not tell me how she makes the dressing until after I ate it, or I'd honestly probably never try it, because the combination of ingredients just sounds really odd to me, but trust me, this is delicious. I have had taco salads before with like Catalina dressing and Western dressing, and it's good, but Gary and I much prefer this dressing with our taco salads. If you've never tried it, I recommend you give it a try. Yes, I know, like I said, it may sound a little odd, but it's delicious. So here are the ingredients we're going to need for the dressing, and I'll have Melissa's recipe typed out in the description box below for you. And this is why I said that it sounded kind of odd to me. We're going to use some Thousand Island dressing. We're going to add taco seasoning, some hot sauce of your choice, and sugar. Now, I will say the recipe calls for quite a bit of sugar. I do not use anywhere near the amount of sugar in the recipe. I'd suggesting add a couple tablespoons, give it a taste, and then maybe add a little bit more as you go. And then her recipe does not call for this, but I like to add in a couple tablespoons of salsa if I have it on hand. I happen to have some homemade salsa today, so I'm going to add that, but if I don't have salsa on hand, I just skip it. So what I've done is just combined all of the ingredients, and again, give it a taste, adjust to your taste, and I'm going to pop this into the refrigerator. I do highly recommend making this at least a couple hours in advance to allow all the flavors to kind of meld together. All right, here are the ingredients we're going to use for the salad. I've got some romaine lettuce that I washed really well and allowed to dry. I'm going to chop that up. Use whatever lettuce you prefer or have got on hand. I've got some shredded cheese. Again, use your preference. I've got some Colby Jack today. Some tomato I'm going to chop up, and I don't believe Melissa's original recipe called for cucumber, but I really like to add it in. I feel like it gives it a good like freshness and crunch to it. We've got a can of dark red kidney beans. I'm going to wash them and drain them really well and then allow them to dry. And then Doritos. I feel like Doritos just make this salad. Yes, you could use regular tortilla chips or corn chips or tortilla strips, but I love the combination of Doritos with all the other flavors in this. Normally, I just use regular Doritos and crush them up, but I had these little mini ones in my pantry, and so I'm going to use that, and they ended up like the perfect size for a salad. The last thing we need for our taco salads is some taco meat. So in this skillet, I've got some ground turkey. You could do ground beef, of course, ground chicken. I allowed it to brown completely, added in my taco seasoning, a little water, and then I added in just a little bit of the salsa, the same salsa I added to the dressing. Again, that's optional, but I just happen to have it on hand. It adds a little more flavor. So just make your taco meat according to the package instructions on your favorite taco seasoning. All right, so here is my salad. Gary was at the gym this night, so he ate later when he came home. Pretty simple. I just add everything to the bowl, give it a really, really good toss, and that's it. And this is so yummy. Now, of course, like I say, with everything, you're in your kitchen, so feel free to add and substitute whatever for the salad. You could add in whatever veggies you want. You could add onions. You could add bell peppers, whatever you want. But this, just like it is to us, is perfection. It's so yummy. All right, I have been craving some really good fried fish. So I've shared this before on my channel. I'll quickly walk through it again today. First up, I'm gonna make some coleslaw. Now, I've also shared this particular recipe before. This was sent to me by one of my subscribers. Her name is Donna. I will link that recipe down in the description box below. It's basically like a copycat KFC coleslaw. I don't feel like it's exactly like their coleslaw, but it's pretty close. It's yummy. So here are the ingredients I'm going to use for that. And a quick note, I did have the recipe. Now you can of course shred or chop up your own coleslaw, cabbage, and carrots. I'm just going to use the bag to keep it easy this night. I've got a lemon for fresh lemon juice, salt, pepper, some plain white vinegar, buttermilk, mayonnaise, and sugar. And I'm using white sugar. You could use your sweetener of choice, of course. So in a measuring cup, I mixed up like the dressing. So I added the mayonnaise, the buttermilk, salt, pepper, sugar, and vinegar. And then to a bowl, added the coleslaw mix. I'm going to pour the dressing over the coleslaw mix, give it a really good stir, taste and adjust the seasonings to your taste. Cover this and then pop this into the refrigerator. This is best if you can give this a couple hours, to allow the cabbage to soften and all the flavors to come together. Next up, I'm going to make a quick tartar sauce. Now, I don't measure for this. I just eyeball it. I don't really follow a recipe. I like to keep our tartar sauce pretty simple. So here's what I like to use. I've got some mayonnaise, relish, salt, pepper, fresh lemon juice, and that's pretty much it. I just stir everything together and pop it into the refrigerator until we're ready for it. Now, of course, make this your own. You could always add like some dill would be really good in this. You could add some capers, hot sauce, whatever you prefer. Next, I tried a new recipe for hush puppies. I have recently come across this website called One Dish Kitchen. If you cook for one or two or a very small family like I do, I would recommend you take a look at this blog. She has all kinds of recipes that are perfectly tailored for 1 to 2 people. So this recipe was really easy to put together. For the dry part of the hush puppies, here are the ingredients I'm going to use. I've got some self-rising cornmeal, all-purpose flour, sugar, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. I'm going to combine all of that into a bowl, and I will again have the recipe with all the measurements linked down below for you. To finish out the hush puppies, I'm using some buttermilk and egg yolk. I'm going to save the white for breakfast the next day. And then some finely diced onion. We're going to combine the wet and dry with the onions, give it a mix, and then I'm going to set that to the side until I am ready to fry those up. All right, for the fish, now like I said, I have shared how I make this before on my channel. I'll link that video down below, but it's really easy. First, we're gonna take our fish. I'm using some cod today. You could also do halibut. I've seasoned both sides with some Old Bay seasoning after I patted them dry really, really well. And then we have our batter. So for the batter, you basically add flour, cornstarch, garlic powder, onion powder, baking soda, baking powder, and salt. And then the recipe suggests that you use warm water. I like to use sparkling water though, especially like a lemon or lime flavored sparkling water. It makes it nice and bubbly and super airy. You could also do this with beer. Now, every time I fry fish, I think of my sweet granny. So growing up where she lived, it was a dry county, meaning there was no alcohol that was sold there. And so I remember sometimes she would ask Dad to sneak her in. She would call it, some beer so that she could fry up some fish. She was so cute. But anyway, so all we're going to do is take our fish, dip it in the batter, and then fry it up in some oil. Now for the fries, or chips if you are British, I'm just going to keep it easy tonight. Use some frozen bagged fries. You could, of course, cut up your own fries, potatoes rather, and make them into fries. And to season them up, I am going to use this Steak and Shake seasoning. All right, here's everything fried up, and what I like to do when I'm frying fish or stuff like this, I will take a cookie sheet, line it with paper towels to collect the oil, and then add a wire rack to put everything on. That way, I'm not just setting it directly on the paper towel. Sometimes when you do that, the bottoms can get a little bit soggy. So we've got the fries, the hush puppies, and the fish. I fried them in that order. And then we have the coleslaw. Here are the plates. So we just got some of the fish, the coleslaw, the fries, and the hush puppies, and this was delicious. So good. Now, the hush puppy recipe, in the future, personal taste, just this is me personally, I would add a touch more sugar, and I felt like they were just a tad on the dense side, but that could be because I mixed up the mixture maybe 30 minutes or so before I actually was ready to fry the hush puppies. And so sometimes when you are baking or you're using like baking soda, baking powder, sometimes if you mix it a little too far in advance, it can already start the process of starting to rise. So that might be why, but they were still good. They were delicious, so yummy. So if you have never tried making homemade hush puppies, I recommend you give this recipe a try. It was good. Dinner the next night, I was trying to use up some things that I had on hand, so I made a Philly cheesesteak flatbread pizza. Here's what I'm going to use to make it. So I had one of these Stonefire flatbreads that I needed to use up. I'd use the other one to make us some copycat Subway breakfast sandwiches, which BT dubs, if you have not made those at home, they are so incredibly delicious, and they are so much cheaper than Subway. So I'll link that video down in the description box below for you. I also had about a half a package of the shaved steak. I cooked it up, I don't know, a month or so ago with some salt, pepper, garlic, little Worcestershire sauce. I'd only used half of it at the time for the recipe. I put the other half in my freezer, so I pulled that out and allowed that to thaw. I had some chopped purple onions in my fridge that needed to be used up, along with some mini bell peppers that were about to get a little on the sketchy side. Had some sliced mushrooms and a little bit of homemade ranch dressing I needed to use up. And I've got some shredded mozzarella cheese. So to assemble this, it's really easy. I didn't show me assembling it. You know how to assemble a pizza. I just laid the flatbread down on a cookie sheet, added the ranch dressing, added some mozzarella cheese, and then I sauteed up the onions and peppers in a skillet just with a little bit of oil, salt, and pepper. Added that along with the Philly cheesesteak meat, added a little more shredded mozzarella cheese, and then I baked this in the oven. I used the instructions on the flatbread package, which I think it was like 400 degrees for maybe 15 minutes or so. Just follow the instructions on your flatbread or whatever pizza crust recipe you're using. And here are the plates. We've got some of the pizza, and I did some side salads. We had all kinds of veggies in the fridge that needed to be used up. I've got like some lettuce, some shredded carrots, tomato, cucumber, and then in Gary's salad, I added some of the mini bell peppers along with some banana pepper and celery, and then I ended up adding the rest of the ranch dressing to my salad, and he used some of the Ken's Thousand Island dressing. And this was an easy and delicious dinner, and I got to use up a few things that needed to be used up, so win-win all the way around. For dinner the next night, I made French onion burgers. I got this from Tamara's channel at Southern Wife Everyday Life. I'll link it down below. I have made these before on my channel, but I'll quickly walk you through how to make it again. They're super easy. So first up, you need some hamburger patties. I'm using some preformed patties. You can, of course, take hamburger meat and form them into patties yourself. You can season these up any way you want to. I'm going to use some of the Steak and Shake seasoning. And then we also need some of the Campbell's French onion soup. I took the soup and added just a little bit to the bottom of the crock pot. You basically just want to add enough to where the hamburger patties kind of don't stick and have a little moisture on the bottom. I'm seasoning both sides of the hamburger patties with that seasoning. I'm going to place them into the crock pot and pour the rest of the can of soup over top of that. Now, the last step is we're going to take some onions. I just had some odds and ends of onion in my fridge that needed to be used up. I'd slice these up for like some hamburgers for 4th of July or something like that. But I just kind of roughly sliced them, added them on top. We're going to cover this with a lid and cook this on low for 6 hours. Tamara suggests going in maybe every couple hours or so and gently flipping the hamburger patties. And so that's what I do. After 6 hours, this is what they look like. For one of the sides, I'm making a loaded potato salad. I've shared this so many times before. I will link that down below. Basically, all I do is boil up some potatoes. You could also use leftover baked potatoes. And sometimes I use russet, sometimes I use red potatoes. Just depends on what I've got on hand. I cook those until they're fork tender in some salted water. Drain them really well. Combine them with some mayonnaise, sour cream, a little bit of ranch seasoning, some shredded cheese, green onions, and crumbled up bacon. Give that a stir. And then that's basically it. I like to let it hang out in the refrigerator for a couple hours before we're ready to eat it. For the other side, I tried a new recipe for hot honey butter corn. I saw this on Instagram. I'll link that down below. This was really easy and it was delicious. I really enjoyed this. So here's what I'm going to use. I've got some corn on the cob. You could use fresh, of course, and shuck it yourself. You could also use frozen corn on the cob. We've got some butter, hot honey. If you don't have hot honey, you could just use regular honey and add either like some cayenne pepper or red pepper flakes to that. And then we've got some salt, pepper, garlic powder, paprika, and not pictured is some oil. I used avocado oil. You can use olive oil or whatever you prefer. Now, from my recollection, the Instagram post didn't give like detailed amounts, so I just kind of eyeballed it based on the amount of corn that I had. But here's what I did. I brushed the corn on the cob on all sides with some of the oil, seasoned it with salt and pepper. I cooked this in the air fryer. You could, of course, bake this in the oven or grill it. In the air fryer, I did 370 degrees for about 14 or 15 minutes. I did turn it halfway through. While that was cooking, I made my hot honey butter. So I took a few tablespoons of butter, added in some of the hot honey, just do that to taste, the garlic powder, paprika, and a little bit of salt. Once everything was combined and the butter was melted, when the corn on the cob was done, I brushed some of that hot honey butter on the corn. Now, I only did it on 2 of the corn cobs to start with. That way I could use the leftover corn if there was any for a different recipe. But once you've brushed that hot honey butter over the corn, that's it. And it was delicious. I really liked the corn on this way. All right, so to serve up the burgers, we're going to toast up some hamburger buns, and I like to add a slice of provolone cheese like the last couple minutes or so while I'm toasting the buns, just to allow that cheese to melt. We're going to add the hamburger patties along with some of the softened onions to our hamburger buns, and that's it. Those are the French onion burgers, and then we've got some of the potato salad and the corn, and this was a delicious, delicious dinner. For the last dinner in this week's video, we did a little date night out. I've been craving Italian food, so we went to just a local mom and pop place. We started out with some of their bruschetta. We did the one that had whipped ricotta, tomatoes, basil, and a balsamic reduction. That was so yummy. And then I'd been wanting like a creamy seafood pasta, so I got their lobster ravioli. Delicious. And then Gary tried a new pizza there. Well, it wasn't new to them, it was new to us. We'd never had it before. It was a wild mushroom pizza. It had wild mushrooms, pancetta, truffle oil, fontina cheese. This was so yummy. We had over half of it left and we brought it home. We actually had this last night for dinner. I'm gonna heat up the leftovers for us for lunch, and I am so looking forward to that. I think I'm going to try to drizzle a little of that hot honey on there. I think it would be delicious. Now for the giveaway winner. The winner is Faith and Hope. So thank you all so much for entering. I really enjoyed seeing everyone's quote unquote weird snacks. But Faith and Hope, if you will please either send me an email, it's in the description box below. It's just meganskitchen@gmail.com, or hit me up on Instagram and I will get your prize out to you. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you liked this video. You got some dinner ideas from it. If you did, hit the thumbs up button below and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.